Do you want to know the biggest privilege these guys got?
Got what?
They choose to stream 9 hours.
100%.
They literally can turn it off after 4. They can turn it off after 5. But because they want to make more money, they keep streaming. And then they want to get up here and then complain about how hard it is. You're literally choosing it. That's like you do it for money and then complaining it hurts.
When I saw this video from Aber and Preach and saw what Asmond and Hasan were saying about how streaming is harder and more taxing and more draining than regular work, like in the real world, in real life, it actually really pissed me off. Like, I'm not going to make this video long. I'm just going to give my example of why I think they are completely unattached and in their bubbles, and this is why sometimes we really just need to take what rich people say with a grain of salt, because they live in their own worlds, and the fact that he doesn't realize how unattached he is just more proof like how unattached they really are. I went back home like 7 months ago for 6 months, and I had to get 2 jobs because the cost of living is way too high. There is no way to live on one job as a single person with no kids, and I wasn't paying rent. This was just to save enough money to get the fuck out of the US and go back traveling. 6 months with not paying rent, with no kids, I still only managed to save $3,500 in 6 months, half a year. Not paying rent. I was just responsible for paying for my own food, which is $300 a month for a single person, my phone bill, and other things that I had to pay for on a monthly basis. And granted, I had a minimum wage job. I had 2. Let me tell you, I worked minimum wage before when I was younger, when I was a teenager, which I think minimum wage should really only be for. I think minimum wage should be a job that you work very short times, because let me tell you, it's fucking inhumane. Like, working those jobs are inhumane, like, especially when you are in the service industry. And I was in the service industry. I worked customer service for the most part, and I did a lot of other jobs that wasn't in my description, but I had to do for the same amount of money, nothing extra, no pluses, no overtime, like, just in like I never even got to stop moving my body, like cash register, cleaning up the floor, stocking shelves, heavy boxes, like emptying massive trucks full of merchandise, like, plus dealing with people's fucking bad behavior. And I'm telling you, if you work in a service industry, you know people treat you like trash. People shit all over you. My life was threatened working that job. People were threatened to come up and beat me up, come back with guns. Like, I was cussed out, spit at, yelled at, like, belittled out of nowhere for no reason. I saw the rest of my coworkers get the same type of treatment. It's literally like soul sucking. It is a job that I'm okay with robots taking over, because I don't think it's for human consumption. I mean, of course, if the robots take over, the human being should also be taken care of financially, because the jobs are being taken away. However, I don't think people should be doing these jobs. Like, I'm telling you, like, maybe I'm a spoiled bitch, but I was like, if I had to do this job forever and I didn't see a way out of it, I don't know if I can live. Like, it's really bad. It was that bad. I was that miserable. Everybody at my job was constantly on something just so they can get through it. They were constantly high or doped up on something just so they can get through the fucking job. That's how bad it was. How many times we got robbed? Someone started a fire in the building, a customer. Mental health, people, crazy people, like I was scared to walk at home at night by myself from my job. It was bad. And granted, again, I don't think minimum wage was ever supposed to be a living wage. So people sometimes work minimum wage jobs because bad choices that they made in life, and sometimes they work minimum wage jobs because just circumstances in their life. But it was horrendous. Me sitting here talking to you, making videos, editing with this channel and my travel channel, doing something that I love, talking about stuff that I'm passionate about, that is nowhere near as hard as the jobs that I was doing back home. Not even close, not even a tiny fraction. Is it hard work? Yes. People don't realize that YouTube and social media is basically a full-time job if you want to make a living off of it. You have to be super consistent. It is a full-time job. I am constantly editing. But is it as draining and taxing as... No, it's not even as physically hard. No, it's not even tiny bit close. It's not, and granted, it's not streaming, but I'm going to say it's still the same. And Abba and Preach made a really good point. You can choose to turn off the camera whenever you want. If you're bitching and complaining that, oh, I gotta sit there for 9 hours so I can make sure I get that milli. So I can make sure I'm still a millionaire. You can turn off the camera anytime you want.
Yes, a real job can be gruesome. A real job can make you very tired. But a real job doesn't suck the soul out of you. You know what I mean? In the same way that 9 hours of streaming absolutely will.
Shut that shit off, please.
A real job does not expend your social battery in the same way as someone who did a sales job, a real job, okay? I'm telling you, as someone who did both, 9 hours of constant performance and people-pleasing taps you out from social scenarios. After 9 hours of that, I could probably do fucking physical labor. It would not bother me.
Here's the truth about our favorite champagne socialist, okay? He comes from one of the richest families in Turkey. Okay, he's incredibly wealthy. He's always been from a wealthy family. And so this trust fund baby goes on to be a very successful streamer and makes it. You don't really know about this hard work life. That's why a lot of these dudes who before the people never come from backgrounds that are actually of the people. He is top 1% today. And even back then when he was part of his family, he was top 0.1% in Turkey. The truth about Hasan, him talking about work and everybody misunderstanding and they're being really stupid and low IQ when they're listening to his responses, this is just a brat who's always been a bit rich brat. And he's talking about real jobs like he has the experience, but he doesn't. And he's not the only one because Asmondgold, okay, reacted to this. I actually like Asmond. I think Asmondgold is cool, even if he looks homeless every day. He is my favorite homeless millionaire streamer. This has been my opinion observing most streamers and content creators. Most of them are completely out of touch with reality.
So people are getting mad. It's a bad take. What's it a bad take of? He says that he gets exhausted socially because he's talking to people for 9 hours a day. You really think that's not true?
That's not what he said.
I mean, you really think it's not true?
That's not the only thing that he said. He didn't say that he's drained because he's working 9 hours a day and he's talking to people for 9 hours a day. I can understand that. I can understand the fact that you're going to be drained talking. He said that his job is more draining than any normal job. No. Fucking no, my guy. It doesn't work like that. The world doesn't work like that. Nothing works like that. But what you're gonna include nurses? You're gonna talk to me about people in the force?
After you spend 9 hours being investigated by thousands of people with every facial movement, everything you say, every word, with people constantly trying to disagree with you and fight with you, that's not socially draining. This is totally understandable.
Do you want to know the biggest privilege these guys got?
Got what?
They choose to stream 9 hours.
100%.
They literally can turn it off after 4. They can turn it off after 5. But because they want to make more money, they keep streaming. And then they want to get up here and then complain about how hard it is. Who here gets to choose their fucking hours at work?
Not a lot of people.
The fact that you guys even have the gall to compare yourselves to regular people when your extra hours of labor are rewarded with more and more money is insane. It's like the levels of disconnect to people, like, why should we feel any sympathy or give a shit about what your struggles is? You're literally choosing it. That's like you do it for money and then complaining it hurts.
If you've made it this far, can you please like, comment, and subscribe? Please donate to my PayPal so I can get a new camera battery, and you can super thanks. If you super thanks, I will mention your comment in the next video. Asmond, I believe that's his name, his YouTube name, which I like the guy, by the way, and I like his channel, but he made a point to say like that money doesn't buy happiness, because he was trying to make it clear that just because I'm rich doesn't mean I'm happy, and it doesn't mean that we don't have problems, which no one said it isn't, but there's a difference, and I'll tell you the difference in a minute. He was saying, like, you know, there's been studies, and I've seen these studies, that at like 200,000, 250,000 a year, it kind of caps at your amount of happiness that money brings you, right? And above that, just, I guess, brings you more problems, or it doesn't make you any more happier. Exactly. You can stop streaming once you start making $200,000 a year. Asmond and Henson, whatever his name is, make well over that. So if it's not making you more happy or bringing you any more happiness or peace of contentment, and you're bitching about being online for so long, you have the luxury and the privilege to turn off the screen, to turn off the camera. You don't want to because you want the money you have. Even though you just admitted it doesn't make you any more happier, but you want that amount of money anyway, because it might not make you more happier, but it brings you security and it brings you options, like the option to take a mental health break if you really want to. And that is the difference.
Graphs right here that I can show. And these are studies that have been done over the years with a number of different people. And basically what you see happening is that, especially whenever you're reaching, again, into this like leading up to like $200,000 a year, more money will absolutely make you more happy. Absolutely it will, 100%. But that does not necessarily mean that more money infinitely will just make you more and more happy. And that's the perspective that I'm making. That's the point that I'm making.
That's the point I was making too. That's why you should turn your stream off. You make millions. At 200K, you'd be just as happy or close to it. Turn your stream off after 5 hours. That's the point I'm making. You have the luxury to do that. See that graph? Everyone else lives on the bottom of that curve where it's fucking dog because they have complete financial insecurity. They don't know if they'll ever be able to afford a house, be able to send their kids to college, be able to take vacations, be able to pay college and pay off their debt. That's where most people live. You live in the upper bracket where infinity is not in existence, but you're going to continuously be happier. Marginally with time, but still happier. So why don't you just turn off your stream and then stop dealing with all the extra stress that you're self-imposing?
Poor people don't have the option to take a mental health break. They don't. There's been times in my life where I'm literally contemplating off of myself. I feel like I'm losing my mind. I can barely make it through the day. I can barely get out of bed. Guess what? I can't afford it. I can't afford to let myself feel that way. I can't afford to let myself spiral. I can't afford to be depressed. I can't afford it. Because if I do, then I won't get out of bed and I won't go to work and I can't pay my bills. Then I can't pay my rent. Then I'm homeless. Asmond and Hanson can afford to take breaks when they feel a need to. Poor people can't. That is the biggest difference. Poor people and rich people might have the same issues as in depression, anxiety, and mourning and stuff, other things that center around mental health, like bipolar and shit like that. That doesn't discriminate. But you have the privilege to take a break. You have the privilege to go to therapy and go to counseling and clear your head. You have the privilege to step away. You have the privilege to afford the best help possible, the best guidance possible. Poor people don't. That is the biggest difference. Yes, you have problems. The difference is you got the privilege to take time to help fix your problems. And I'm not saying everybody doesn't have their choices and their responsibilities and accountabilities and obligations, all that stuff. But there is a big difference. To pretend that rich people and poor people are the same is insane to me. And the fact that Asmond, who seems like a smart guy, can't realize that, you know what, I might have been so detached from that world that I just don't get it and I can accept that. Instead of trying to no, guys, you don't understand, and we have problems too, and the money doesn't make us any happier, and you don't get it, bro, come on. If he would have simply said look, rich people, we have bad days too. We get depressed. We want to off ourselves sometimes. It really, this money doesn't really make me any happier. But don't get me wrong. I understand that I'm super privileged and I can't relate to you and you can't relate to me. We go through similar things, but not in the same way. You know what I mean? And I do think that sometimes streamers, especially when they start making large amounts of money, try their best to seem really still relatable, because no one wants to watch someone they can't relate to. And this is why Asmond looks like he's living in his father's basement all the time. This is why Asmond looks messy and kind of sloppy and disheveled, because it makes him look relatable. Right? And same thing with Hanson. Hanson, by the way, I think he's a disgusting human being. I feel like if I met him in real life, he's one of those progressives who seems like they're on the right side of history, but you get to talk to him more than an hour and they're complete assholes. I don't like the guy. I like Asmond. I don't know either of them, but something tells me Hanson is a disgusting, terrible person who's completely detached from real life, who never really had to work a day in his life besides streaming and being in front of a camera. Not saying those things. Again, those things are hard work. I am not saying it's not hard work. Do not get it twisted. That shit is hard work. It is not as hard and as taxing and as soul-sucking as working a 9 to 5, especially for working minimum wage, right? But a lot of times streamers try to make themselves feel relatable by trying to make it seem like, no, I'm just like one of you guys. I got millions, but doesn't really mean anything. Like, you know what I mean? Just do a Ricky Gervais. Ricky Gervais all the time talks about like how rich and famous he is and how much he likes being rich and famous, and you can't relate to him and he can't relate to you. And he says it in a way that still makes him feel relatable. Like, it makes you feel less relatable when you pretend you don't understand that there is a difference. Anyway, this video is longer than I really wanted it to be. It just pissed me off when I saw that, because with so many people struggling right now, financial struggle is one of the biggest struggles and the biggest stresses that is pretty much international and most people can relate to. Financial struggle tears families apart. Financial struggle makes people end their lives. Financial struggles make people turn to substances to get through their day. And the fact that he's kind of like belittling it or downplaying it as if like his problems are the same as everyone else's problems is really just pissing me the fuck off. That's all I have to say about that. You guys like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the bell to get the notifications when I do upload. That really does help with the algorithm, guys. And speaking of financial problems, if you'd like to donate to the channel, it really helps to keep me on this platform so I can get a new freaking camera and a new setup. My PayPal and Cash App link is down below if you can. If you can't, just like, comment, and subscribe. And you guys have an amazing, beautiful day. Bye.
You have a job where you're extremely gifted and privileged. Nobody cares. You choose your hours. Shut the fuck about your problems. And certainly, if you're going to talk about it, don't compare yourself to regular people.